I've noticed that when people start coaching, a lot of times they stop training. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like Tojo coaches in the morning, just like I did at Navas, and he trains in the evening. So the cool thing about doing that is you can come in the next morning and be like, hey, this is what's not working with the technique that we're working on right now. Because you can test it.
Yeah.
You can test it in real time. And I was telling a friend of mine, I was really lamenting, like, how do I get my coaches to be a little bit more involved in the training? Huh?
I didn't know you knew that word. Lamenting.
I haven't heard him say that one.
Did you just read a book?
I've been trying to work that in a conversation for about, how long have we been doing the podcast?
About 6 months now.
How long have we been doing the podcast?
A tally of the words that he said that have never entered his vocabulary before.
But I was talking to him about that, and he's like, he goes, and he's an addict. And he says, it's funny because like people that, are addicts that, come out the other end and start their own clinic to help addicts get clean. They quit going to meetings. You know what I mean? It's like, it's almost like you've arrived and that's your therapy, but you still need that therapy. You still need your time on the mat. Like you were saying, you're scrounging for that time to train, right? On Sundays or whenever you can. But yeah, so I was talking about that, and I don't know how to fix that. I don't know how to help these guys. Like,
you have to fire them.
Can't fire them. Can't fire them.
You could.
I guess.
Really?
If I want to teach more classes.
I don't get the mentality because, like, for me, as the morning coach, like, there's days where I can't roll because I will never ask one of my students to sit out for me to roll.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah.
That's not my job. Is to teach. My job is not to roll. I'm not there to train. I'm there to teach.
Correct.
So there's days where, it's even numbers with students, so I'm not going to get to roll. And if someone wants to sit out, I feel like it's my job to kind of push them to be like, you're going to be mad at yourself if you sit out.
Yeah.
Get in there.
Man.
Find someone and roll.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, I can jump in, if you need me to jump in, like if you're hurt or something, I can do that for sure. But I think, I feel like it's my job to make sure that my students are rolling.
Yeah.
And obviously accommodate if they can't. Like some people are injured and they're just there to drill. And I'm like, all right, that's cool.
Yep.
I'll take your spot when it's time to roll.
I also like sitting out, well, because I'm lazy. But no, I like sitting out because I want to see who's actually trying the move that we're working on. And then I like to see your students will have they'll take on almost like your methods, right? Your style. Mm-hmm. And you can kind of see okay, I got to fix this. I got to fix that. You see them doing a guard pass and not going crossface, and just leaving openings and stuff like that. Yeah. Okay, I got to fix this.
Yeah, I'm a little less specific. It doesn't hurt my feelings if someone's not trying the technique of the day or whatever, or the week or whatever we're working on. But I do like when you see someone definitely trying something they haven't tried before, or they're trying to work something through. Yeah. And then you pull them aside. He's like, "This is why that's not working." Yeah. He kind of gives you something to coach on.
Yep. Yep.
And you can't do that if you're rolling.
That's true. That's
right?
true. Man.
And again, your job as the instructor is to instruct.
Yeah.
Not to train.
Yep. Get everybody up.
That's the reality of it.
That's
the reality of it. So with that in mind, I have to go train. So that's why I'm there in the evening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how you fix that.
It's hard because I don't want to ask somebody to be away from their family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I get that.
Your job doesn't feel bad about telling you to stay away from your family.
That's true.
If I lived there, they still wouldn't be happy. I guess one way to look at it is, do you want to be a good instructor or do you want to be a good jiu-jitsu practitioner?
Right.
What's more important to you?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If being good at jiu-jitsu is important to you, you're gonna make the class.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
And I've never gotten to the point where I've said, "Oh, I'm good at jiu-jitsu."
No.
So
no. Every time I think that, somebody whips my ass. Yeah. So
you're welcome.
Yeah. There was one time I'll never forget this. I just got my blue belt and I went. It was a local tournament. I can't remember which tournament it was, but I double gold. I won division and the open, and then I'm so full of myself. Because I always made a point, if I compete the weekend, I always show up on Monday to train. That was my thing. Yeah. And so I show up on Monday to train, and I got my ass handed to me.
Like having
because you're beat.
Hangover.
No, I was a little bit hungover. Yeah. There was a little bit of hangover. But it was I was telling Amy, I remember that week specifically because it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, just getting the shit kicked out of me. And I was like, okay, I'm not that good.